And we're live. Hi, Dawn here with Romance Happy Hour. I am, of course, here with Dylan, and I'm going to get it this way. She's this way on mine. Dylann Crush and Judith Lynne and Shannon Nemechek. Did I say that right, ladies? I didn't test this out before. Okay, great.
You got mine right.
Well, I hope I got yours right. All right, Dylan, I saw you had a little treat for us, like a little peeky. What have you been working on?
Well, I haven't been working. I have a book coming out on May 25th, but I haven't been working on this for a long time because that's how traditional publishing works. This book was submitted in final edits and everything, like, oh gosh, way back in, before Christmas. So yeah, but this is coming out May 25th, Crazy About a Cowboy. It's the third book in the Tying the Knot in Texas series. So I'm gearing up for that. And then I have a charity anthology, story in a charity anthology that's coming out June 1st. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So a couple of releases coming up.
Now, this is the book where I don't know anything about, so I can't give any spoilers, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I like Dawn in the dark because she can't keep a secret.
I can't. No. Not on Romance Happy Hour for some reason. Yeah.
Right. So, no, that one is coming out in the Summer Love Anthology, and all of the proceeds are going to charity for like Women Venture to help women in business and things like that. And there are a lot of some authors in there I'm super excited to read. So
awesome.
Piper Rain and Stephanie London, and there's just a lot of people that are in there. So
that's awesome.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
And what book is in there?
Oh, what book is mine? It's a short story, and it's called Sipping Seduction.
Ooh. Does it have wine?
It has a whiskey distillery. So it's a prequel. They're calling them novelettes. It's a prequel novelette to a new series that I'm working on that I hope to release the first book later on this summer.
Nice.
Awesome. I have to write another cowboy book first before I can work on that one. So
now is this
more cowboys coming?
The Cowboys were announced, so I can talk about that one.
You can talk about the Cowboys. Yes, you can.
Okay, so is this the one where they're going on a cruise, or they're going to the Jamaica or something, like the Cowboys in the Caribbean?
Cowboys in Paradise, yes. Yeah. So they will be on a tropical island, but not a cruise.
Oh, tropical island. Yes, I want to go on a cruise.
A fictional island off of the coast of Texas, because that's where I like to be. But yeah, I'm making it up because where I want to put my island, there really aren't any islands. And so that's the beauty of writing fiction, right, ladies? We get to create things that don't exist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Dawn, what have you been working on? I say that you just had a birthday.
I had a birthday and a book birthday. So I had to.
Someone very important is back.
Yes.
Okay, are we allowed to say that?
Yes, he is back, and I will never have to keep anything a secret again. Yay. There is no more secret missions that I have to zip it up for. But yep, he's retiring this year, July 30th. So we're going to be moving probably out to Montana. It depends on his job, what job he's gets. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I just had Alexa Jade release. I'm very excited about that. It's doing pretty good. And Lipstick and Lassos, book 3 in the Lone Tree Ranch series, is going to be out June 8th. So I just got that off to my editor, and I'm going to waiting for her to get it back to me so I can work on it and get it up and going. I'm excited about that one too. Apparently I'm super excited right now, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a fake relationship story, unrequited love, and there is some poison ivy and some matching rashes. So I had a lot of fun there. So yeah.
Is that inspired by, I know your kids had poison ivy really, really bad recently.
So yeah. I was like, I think it was like a week after they had poison ivy that I was like, oh gosh, that would be perfect. Like, so yeah, it definitely was inspired by my children. I mean, my children got poison ivy in the middle of winter when there wasn't any poison ivy bushes, and I don't know how, but apparently my boys do. So they found it. Yeah,
they're usually the ones that find it.
Yeah, yeah. My little one's had it twice. He's the one that he gets all the tick bites. He gets all the poison ivy. He just apparently he's a boy's boy. So yeah, what can you do? I wrote it in a book, and it was a lot of fun doing it. And so, what about you, ladies? Shannon, how about you? What are you?
I am working on book 4 of my Traveler series, and I brought, here's the first 3. And I've got a book that I'm working on for the Driven World, for Kay Bromberg's world, and then a book for the Cocky world. But currently right now I'm working on book 4 diligently. I am way behind, but my editor, I'll be getting that book 4 off to the editor at the end of this month. So, and I'm about 25,000 words behind maybe. But in my defense, I hurt my back last week. So I've been down in the back, and I went on Monday and got a couple of shots and some pills, and I'm feeling better. I can sit up now and, be able to be on here and talk to you guys coherently without being drugged out of my mind from the medicine. But now, other than that, it's just writing, right. This series, my Traveler series, is a time travel, historical time travel mixed. She's actually the female lead in the book is a major in the Army, and she gets, she time travels back, and that's about that. I've enjoyed writing it. I've got it set right now for 9 books.
Oh,
so I'm working on 4. So I'm only halfway through. So, but yeah, it's mixed with the King Arthur and Merlin lore kind of thing. So it's been a lot of fun. So I can mix some real historical facts mixed in with a lot of fantasy and that kind of thing. So, and magic and all that kind of good stuff. I wanted to get away a little bit from, because I write mainly military romance. So I kind of wanted to get away from that a little bit, and kind of expand my writer brain, and I think I accomplished it anyway. I'm having a good time with it. So
good. Now, how do you do your research for your historical part of it?
Well, I do a lot of Google searches, and I've been a history nerd for forever. So a lot of it I learned in school, in college, and reading and television and books and going to the library and research and reading romance books too, So, but like I said, the first, book 1 is during the Civil War. Book 2 is the American Revolution, and then book 3 is set during I can't remember. I can't remember. Oh yeah, the 5th century. I'm like, wait a second here. Yeah, okay.
So where do they take place?
Well, the first one is in Savannah, Georgia. It starts out during the Civil War. And then book 2 is also in Savannah, Georgia. And then this one, book 3, is in Scotland.
Ah, Fun.
So, yeah, so it's been a lot of fun, and these covers I actually designed these covers myself. So
nice.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm real proud of myself. Can you tell? But yeah, I mean, they're a lot of fun, to write, because I can mix in magic, and ghosts and immortality, and I've got some vampires in there, I think, somewhere too. I'm just throwing it all in there. I'm like, okay, yeah, paranormal here. So you get a little bit of everything, believe it or not, with this series. So I'm just playing, doing whatever I want. This one, I'm just like, you know what? I don't care. If y'all don't think it's real, that's okay. This is a magic book. Okay?
Can I ask a question? I hear feedback from myself. Do you guys hear it?
A little bit.
You do? I don't know what's going on. Judith, do you want to go ahead and talk while I try to figure this out?
You figure it out? Yeah, look for that setting that we just had, the noise echo canceling.
Right.
That saved my life. But
and also, if we're not talking, we could probably mute ourselves too.
That too. I'm like totally wrapped up now in Shannon's magical universe. I'm all jealous because I have no magic in any of my books. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I have a talent for it. I think I'm a little too practical. I'm like, this is how bread rises. Like, that's where my head is at. So I have just finished up book 4 in my Lords and Undefeated Ladies series, which really forms an arc because all of the characters from all of the books from the beginning appear in each other's books, even though they're all standalone and anybody could check in to the series at any one point. So they're all sort of connected in a happy universe of excitement. And I'm going to read something from book 3 from that tonight, which is What a Duchess Does. They're very historically oriented, and now I'm afraid it's like terribly, of course I won't say it's boring, but it's definitely not magic. Like, I'm so excited now about the magic. I'm going to go read Shannon's books as soon as I'm done. But I'm a big history nerd with the sort of interconnected global politics of it all. And my books are set in 1813 when there was just stuff happening everywhere. And so I use those political and global sort of connections as like a candlestick, like a set of flowers in the background. Like, it's not the main point, but it sort of gives the story some life and some background. And it gives me inspiration because that's kind of what I get excited about.
So can I ask you both a question, since you're both kind of doing a historical kind of aspect here? Can you hear me now? All of a sudden I can't hear you guys. Okay. I'm so sorry.
Because we're on
your evil modem. It's your evil modem.
I don't know. I blame my family. Somehow it's their fault. I just know it. But what is the craziest fact that you've put in your book that you've learned that happened in history, like a historical fact, the craziest? I
can see Shannon thinking, but I have to say, because I am smarting today, I just got my first professional review of my next book, which is called The Caped Countess, which is a sort of mashup between Batman and Jane Austen. Like, she's a superhero, but it's completely realistic because I just told you I don't do magic or superpowers or anything. And one of the lines the reviewer said was possibly a little historically inaccurate. And I'm like, dude, I will show you the formulas for smoke bombs that I looked up that you can make in your house right now that were absolutely available in 1813, including the ingredients to make the smoke green. I mean, there's literally nothing in there that is not historically accurate. So I would say smoke bombs. I did not anticipate that I would be researching smoke bombs for my Regency romances. That's my.
Funny. What about you, Shannon?
Oh gosh. Make me think here. There's so many of them. I would have never have thought that I would be researching. There was something. And I made the comment to my husband about it. Now I don't even, don't even remember what it was, but I do know that when I do have a question on something and I start looking it up, I always end up falling into this internet rabbit hole, you know, and I'll be like, oh, well, okay, so there's this, and so now I need to check this, and so on and so on. And then 2 hours later, I'm still like, you know,
I spent a whole night once on fluted cake pans. I don't know how or why, but I was trying to figure out when they had bundt pans in Britain, and, you know, trace them to this German pan that has fluting, but were they ever, I mean, hours lost of my life, and I will never need to know that.
I
wrote my very first book based off the fact, because I was like, what am I going to write? I want to write a book. What am I going to do? So I was trying to find my inspiration. So I checked out a bunch of historical books because I love American historical. And I discovered that they had camels in Montana in 1850. And they were used for like the Indian. They were trying to use them to round the Indians that put them on the reservation, but the camels would not work for them. So they let them go in the wild. So the locals would mistake them for moose and shoot them and be like, what the heck is this animal? So I learned that there was wild camels in Montana. So that's the craziest fact that I used. But
awesome.
As far as like, you know, critiques, like people critiquing you, I would say, I had a woman say, this is an impossible book. This is a horrible book. Women don't ride stallions. And I was like, okay, well, I'm a country girl, right? And I literally just was riding a stallion maybe a week ago. So there you go. So I know it's crazy. Sometimes the readers just have the critiquers just have the craziest like facts.
I know. If I got to talk to that person, he wouldn't have probably even focused on the smoke bombs or she. It was probably like, you know, velvet or something, like something that I'm not even thinking of.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Spells. That's one thing. Yes. I got into, I was looking up a lot of like voodoo rituals and that kind of thing for just one little section in book 1. And like I said, I went off on this wild, like, you know, down the rabbit hole kind of thing. And that led on to magic spells, different spells, you know, that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd be looking that up ever, you know. It's, yeah, I would have to say that's one of the things that I never thought I would be learning. Looking up different things like the size of a bed warmer and the size of the steps in a castle, you know, how, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, I never learned that in college, but hey, you know, because you want to try to be as accurate when you're writing historical, because y'all know, readers will call you out on it. They'll be like, no, you know.
Yeah.
So
and you need it to make your quote work. I spent so much time once on a carriage that didn't have a front seat, and somebody got shot and they died. And I was like, where do we put the body? There's no front seat on this carriage to put the body. So are we just going to leave him there? Are we putting him on the roof? Like, what are we literally doing with him? It mattered to the plot. I couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
Where did you put the body?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
I'm curious.
We did shove him on the roof, and that's macabre, right? Can you imagine riding around in a carriage with a dead body? So eventually they're like, we're going to have to leave him here.
That just made me think of in the movie Vacation, where we went like Aunt Edna. That's
yeah. It's not my usual type of joke, but there you go.
Yeah, it's an age-old problem. You just never know. Never mind.
You never know where you got to put the body.
Exactly.
I know. We should probably read some romance, Dawn.
I know. I was just gonna say. Well, we're about at the time for. We need to hear from you, Shannon. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide. I think I'll do it on Chimera Rising, the Traveler Chimera Rising, which is book 3. I have to decide where I want to start reading from, though. So Give me a half a second here. I want to go to some good PG, hopefully, parts, because I'll get in trouble if it's not PG. Let's see. We're going to start out at, this is chapter 17. And basically we're at outside of Rosevale Monastery, which is a real monastery in England. It's really, really old. And this is King Arthur's camp. When Arthur left, he had a small patrol of 100 men stay behind to assist Katie and Callum, who are our hero and heroine. Much work needed to be completed to prepare the monastery and its occupants for the battle to come. It also afforded them time to be alone, time to enjoy just being together. It was beginning to feel like there was always something or someone trying to kill them. When the couple had the chance to enjoy each other, they would take time and relish it. The day had finally started to wind down, and they had spent much of their... Oh, never mind. Hold on. Whoops. We're going to go to a different chapter. Okay. Of course, I go and choose the one that's not PG, right? Okay. We're going to go to the beginning. This is at the home of the Lady of the Lake in Wales, 496 AD. She was cursed to live in this wretched lake when Morgana married Merlin, condemned to live her life alone without love or family. Unless she can change her fate, she would live a doomed life of solitude. Since bequeathing the young King Arthur one of Avalon's most prized possessions, Excalibur, her days blurred into a never-ending despair. The sorceress spent her days wandering the forest, devoid of direction except for the lust for vengeance. She blamed Morgana for her fate, but Merlin had a weakness: the young King Arthur and his lady Guinevere. If she turned Arthur's heart cold, perhaps she could gain the upper hand on Merlin. Yes, that would be her plan. Now she needed a spell and to get close enough to the young king to cast it. Arthur and his knights were often seen near the lake, watering their horses when on the hunt. It would be there she would ensnare the young king. She only needed the one spell to change her appearance to that of the Lady Guinevere, so the young king would kiss her. She had obtained some of the queen's hair from a woman who wanted to be young and beautiful again. This woman, I had to make sure I wasn't muted, I'm sorry. This woman had once been Guinevere's lady's maid. But when Niamh granted her wish, the woman could no longer work. The king would know that someone had enchanted her. Her payment to Niamh was a lock of Guinevere's hair. The witch would use the hair to disguise herself as the queen and obtain a kiss from Arthur. With that kiss, she had the power to control him whenever and however she deemed necessary for as long as she wanted. Niamh mixed the potion. When she saw the king and his knights, she would make an appearance by the lake. She would kiss him and all would be well. For Niamh at least. For those who crossed her, she would have the king to control at will. She just had to wait for the right moment to strike. She would take all she could from Merlin if it was the last thing she ever did. 507 AD, Bechen Forest, Wales. It had been almost 10 years since Mordred had left home to begin training with Niamh. 10 years since he had spoken with either of his parents. When word had come from his sister that his mother Morgana was ill and she wanted him to return home, he knew it might be the last time he had laid eyes on his mother. Despite the bitter argument and the nasty, hurtful words he had directed toward his father, Morgana had not hurt him the way his father had. He could not live with himself if he didn't attempt to make amends with his mother, especially if this was her end. He stood motionless at the front of his parents' cottage, deep in the breach. I cannot talk tonight. I'm sorry. And deep in the forest. We're going to just say that. Staring at an old rickety gate, just feet from the crumbling wooden planked door. He questioned the state of disrepair, but his thoughts were more on the state of his mother. His feet felt like they had weighed 1,000 pounds and were stuck deep in the muddy marsh. Fear had not overtaken his thoughts. His concern centered on who would answer and if he would be and the welcome he would receive. He had not left on good terms. Mordred and his parents had argued at least 100 times. They disapproved of his training with Niamh. Merlin knew the witch was dangerous, and taking advantage of his son's naivety. I apologize. I cannot talk tonight. Naivety, his innocence, because I can't talk tonight. Merlin knew Niamh was out for one person, herself. She wanted Mordred because she could not have Merlin. The sorcerer knew it, and she knew it. He just had a difficult time convincing his son. Mordred left just days after the love of his life had left this earth. He mourned still, grieving deeper than ever. The hard feelings between Merlin, Morgana, and Niamh went deep, but had not always been that way. Morgana and Niamh had once been inseparable, and both young women had their eyes on Merlin. The three of them had trained together with Blaise. He knew of the old ways and tutored them in all things magical, so when the time came, they could fulfill their destinies. As the years passed and their individual powers surpassed that of Blaise, the divide among them widened, as did Morgana and Niamh's anger towards each other. In the end, Morgana would win Merlin's heart. When Merlin turned to her instead of Niamh, the sister swore she would seek revenge on the young couple. It had been foretold that whoever won the heart of Merlin would remain earthbound, while the other became guardian and keeper of Excalibur. That sister would remain within the confines of the loch and become the Lady of the Lake. Niamh could not forgive the young couple for her solitary life. She felt like they had turned their backs on her, and for what she demanded was vengeance, which she gained by taking Mordred as her apprentice and as her lover. Mordred stared at his parents' door for what seemed like hours until it fully opened, and Merlin appeared. "My boy, I'm happy you've come. Your mother's not well. I fear her time is upon us. Come in, please. She will be overjoyed to see you, Mordred." He hesitated for a moment, and then nodded and made his way into the small cottage. The 2-room cottage had barely fit the 4 of them when they were growing up. Now, as an adult, their cramped living arrangements were clearly sorry. I have a bit of laryngitis too, if you can't tell. Okay. Now, as an adult, their cramped living arrangements were clearly apparent to him. The main living area was a combined kitchen, dining room, and sitting room with a massive fireplace that had a dual purpose of feeding and warming them and brewing the potions and herbs that were needed for various spells and medicines. The table for dinners, used for dinners and for workspace, was filled with herbs and potions that overflowed throughout the small space. The clutter of the room was not something he was used to seeing, despite her husband's tendency of being a bit disorganized. Morgana had kept the cottage spotless. Mordred had inherited that same penance for disorganization. He smiled at the thought. He was more like his father than he wanted to admit. It was probably why the two of them butted heads so often. Merlin closed the door behind them as a cool breeze billowed through the cap. Mordred put his bag down by the door and sat at the table. Maurice, his sister, snuck up behind him and covered his eyes. Lynne leaned over his shoulder. "Guess who?" she whispered. Mordred smiled playfully. "Old Angus from the blacksmith shop?" He laughed at the thought. "No, silly, it's me, Maurice." "Have you forgotten your little sister already?" She leaned closer to Mordred, Mordred grabbed her playfully. "No, little sister, I could never forget you." "Good, I was afraid Aunt Niamh took you straight out of your mind. Dear sister, she could never do that. You have so much to give me." He showed a devilish grin, his thoughts going to the magic his sister carried within her. "How is Mother doing?" "She's not well, I'm afraid. She may not make it to the next full moon." Merlin replied, "I'm so sorry." Merlin replied, taking the seat next to Morgana's bedside. "Do not put me in the grave yet, my love." Morgana's eyes opened slightly, and a small smile crept in. "Did I hear my son's voice?" Mordred stood and stepped closer to his mother's bedside. "Yes, Mother, I'm here. I've come. How are you feeling?" "My boy, I've missed you so. How is my sister treating you?" "All is good, Mother. But I did not come here to talk about Niamh. I've come to help." "I'm glad you're here, son. I want so badly for you and your father to make amends. You children will be all he has once I've passed. Please, my dear son, please forgive your father. He has only thought of what is best for you and your sister. He loves you both so. Please try." Morgana struggled to speak, but gave in to her weariness and drifted off. "Is she?" Maurice cried as Mordred held his mother's hand. Merlin reached for her other hand and held it. "No, she's still of this world." The frailty of her strength was now evident even to Mordred, and he felt it deeply. He loved his mother, and it pained him to see her this way. He had never seen her so weak. He had always viewed Morgana as the pillar of strength, with a resolute stubbornness that had rivaled even Merlin's. Mordred had inherited her stubbornness. He smiled, thinking of all those times they had butted heads with both parents, especially when he was a young man, new to love and the ways of the world. He'd gone against his parents by attempting to run away with the love of his life, only to lose her in the most painful way. He would never hold her in his arms again. He would never be able to say goodbye. And what hurt most was that he was never going to be able to see her smile again. When Mordred went to Niamh to train, he had hoped that she could bring her back to him using dark magic. He would make it happen, but he lacked the knowledge and the ability. For that, he would need his sister's magic and his father's grimoire, Merlin's Book of Spells. When Morgana had passed, he would take Maurice's magic, kill Merlin, and take the book for himself. Mordred saw his father as a man. Oh, I keep losing my place. Oh, am I done?
Hi, yeah, we just wanted to pop up here and see. We wanted to get to a couple questions.
Sorry about that. I'm getting laryngitis.
No.
And I kept coughing and getting all tongue-tied.
No, that's fine. We just wanted to get to a question or two before we got to get to Judith.
Okay.
Yeah. That was great. You really incorporated the stories of, I mean, I'm not super familiar with Dylann and all of that, besides, reading it way back when in Disney movies.
Yeah. Yeah, see, what I do is at the beginning of each book, it's kind of like 2 stories, 3 stories, all in like one book. At the beginning is like historical, like here's Merlin and this is what's going on here. And then you get the hero and heroine stuff. So, yeah.
Very cool. Can you hold on? Somebody was asking what you were reading from. They didn't.
Yeah.
Before.
Oh, it's The Traveler, Chimera Rising. This is book 3 of my series. This is book 2, Revolution, and then book 1 is Rebellion.
Okay.
Awesome. So. Yeah.
And feel free to put links to those in the comments.
Oh, okay.
So if somebody's looking for those, that would be very helpful. Do you want to do a couple questions now, Dawn? We want to hop into.
Maybe we'll just get into Judith and yeah, so we can hear her. All right, Judith, you're live. Okay. You're live.
All right, I'm live, and I've read some of the questions, so I'm dying to read some of these. Hi, Rhonda. So I have a selection I'm reading from What a Duchess Does. Can I get it into the camera? Not cover it with my fingers. What a Duchess Does. And I was saying earlier that these Lords and Undefeated Ladies books are really standalone stories. You can come into the series wherever you want, but they're all interconnected. The characters appear in each other's books. And I'm launching a new series in July. And the reason I picked this book to read from is that there is a rather disastrous party that happens in this book. And it's hosted by Lady Donatella, who is the heroine of the first book of the new series, The Caped Countess. So this is a crossover kind of a situation. And I think this is actually a scene from the disastrous party, I think. There's a couple of different parties. So I already said I have a lot of political sort of interest and background, and it's just decoration. I think there's some good stuff in this excerpt, but if the names and the sort of stories just wash over you like water, just ignore them. They don't matter. I'm going to try to keep all the characters separate and clear, because it is a party. So there's a bunch of people, and I'm going to cough too, probably at some point, but I have water here to wash my nervousness down with. We'll see how it goes. So this is Lady Donatella, the hostess of the party. She's hosting for her father, who's about to greet the Duke of Talbourn. Now, the Duke of Talbourn has just been married in a most scandalous way to a young lady named Celine. Nicholas is the Duke of Talbourn. Celine is now the Duchess of Talbourn. And Celine has, it's sort of a Cinderella story. What happens if Cinderella were just as prepared to rule the kingdom as the prince? So Celine is just as politically ambitious as Nicholas is, and this party is where some of that is playing out. So the hostess has come up to the Duke to ask him, "Why, Your Grace, what ails you?" "What?" Nicholas tore his eyes away from his wife. Lady Donatella was staring straight at him, nearly gape-jawed with surprise. Odd to have a woman looking down at him. The girl was truly very tall. "Pardon me, Lady Donatella?" "Sir, you have backed yourself in between 2 large slabs of carved stone, and you are shredding my flowers." Nicholas looked at his hands. There was an enormous vessel of spring flowers on the stone to his right. He had indeed backed into a good defensible spot. And without noticing, he had apparently been ripping them violently apart for some minutes, judging by the pile of petals. Nicholas swept the pile of petals into his pocket as if that had been his intention all along. "My apologies." "You don't sound concerned." He never did. His eyes strayed over to where Celine was now dancing with that damn young Calendar. "I've heard a dozen rumors about your wife in the last week," the young lady of the house mused, "but I hadn't heard this one." "What's that?" "That you're in love with her." "Lady Donatella, never fear, I'm actually quite good at keeping secrets. Why, Lady Wimpole owes me £40 from losses at cards, and I've never told that to anyone, except that I've just told you. Oh, well, Madam, I have heard that your wife has already been your mistress for years and that you only waited so long to marry her because she's blind. There is a story that she's already carrying your child and one that she's unable to carry a child, which is also why you hesitated. There's a story that your trifling with her in her youth caused her father to die of shame, and a story that your son is furious at your marriage because he's in love with her himself. I fully expect before this evening is out to hear that she is the natural child of Catherine the Great, and either she helped you convince the Russians to back out of their agreements with Napoleon, or she hates you on behalf of her true father, Catherine's secret French lover. Now, that last one is very good. I thought Catherine hated the French. Also, she was nearly 60 when my wife was born, was she not? What I did not expect to learn is that you love her. I'm afraid your instincts for drama have led you astray, Lady Donatella. You are not the first man I've seen standing in a corner shredding flowers. Nicholas looked pointedly over her shoulder. Speaking of men, is that someone from your uncle's former military brigade coming to toss me out for my violence to your flowers? Lady Donatella looked over her shoulder at the massive young man making straight for her and scoffed. That walking tree trunk. I will leave you to your flower murder, sir, and advise you that you may yet have time to claim the next dance with your wife, if you don't dawdle. When she disappeared into the swarms of young ladies, the young man followed her, but Nicholas ignored it. He took her advice and didn't dawdle. The Navy cannot take up the whole of Britain's purse. London is exploding, and if we do not look to it, it will be chaos soon. On the contrary, sir, the wars abroad threaten the very existence of England herself, or I should say, our United Kingdom. Lord Morgame, whom Celine had danced with perhaps 6th or 7th at her wedding ball, was adamant. Celine was holding her breath, waiting for the Duke of Gravenshire's response. Finally, someone was speaking of issues that might touch upon Nicholas's goals. And neither gentleman was accompanied by a lady talking about ribbons. It was truly her heart's desire. The Gravenshire response was forestalled by Jonas. Join me for punch? She restrained her sigh. Celine was here to understand the political theater of Britain. Jonas just wanted to chat. I don't. He leaned close. Please? Oh, very well. She couldn't sound pleased when she wasn't. Your Grace, Lord Morgame, Jonas was bowing, you will forgive me if I deprive you of the Duchess for a moment. A deprivation indeed. Lord Morgame sounded genuine. Celine smiled back. For me as well. 2 steps away, she wished she could secretly hit Jonas with her fan. I don't want punch. Talbourn has already promised Gravenshire his support on improvements for the city, over the monies for the Navy. Celine was so astonished that she stopped moving. Don't stop, people will look. That's part of what you came to find out, isn't it? Lord Callender, He was offering her something she wanted far more than jewels, and both of them knew it. You may yet find a use for me, my lady, Jonas said under his breath. By the way, Morgame has never been to Talbourn House before he was invited to your wedding. I think Gravenshire and Talbourn both are recruiting him for whatever Talbourn is planning, which apparently all the party leaders hate. On what? She held his arm tightly. That I have yet to learn. Here are your spies. Perhaps they can tell you. We are not spies. Viola sounded incensed. Virginia was downright disdainful. We are not your spies, if you will excuse us, sir. Of course, I promised her Grace more punch. It felt peculiar to be so sorry that he was gone. Why so mean to Lord Callender, Virginia? Their heads were close and they kept their voices down, but Virginia asked quite dryly, are we in favor of Lord Callender this evening? It hasn't been an easy night to judge. What news, ladies? Viola's voice was quiet but crisp. Your husband is pushing for an end to the war in America to get the supplies he needs for his canal. Also, he is for the war, for the same purpose. It is clear that Viola disliked contradictions. Virginia was much more entertained by them. He intends to build manufactories in his lands. He also intends to forbid them. He has seafaring ventures that have gone badly, and he wants an end to the incursions in the Indies, East and West. But by far, the most interesting stories are about you. You must hear this one about Catherine the Great. Virginia's love of melodrama made her a less than ideal informant, Celine decided. Let us try to stay on the topic at hand, Miss Diaz, surely. You are going to enjoy this story, Virginia assured her. No one is talking about the dog, Viola suddenly said. What? What? What is new for his grace besides his marriage? His dog. He takes it with him all day. No one has mentioned it. And many of these people love dogs. Stories about their own dogs come directly after their greetings, but no one has mentioned Lord Talbourn's. No one has seen it. Celine's head jerked a little with surprise. Oh, none of these people have seen it, and the ones who have aren't talking. These aren't first-hand stories from within Talbourn House that they're repeating, just rumors. No one really believes a word of it. Lady Viola, you are clever. Virginia's admiration sounded genuine. You truly will enjoy this story about Catherine the Great, though. Would your grace be willing to dance with me? Nicholas's voice, velvet and low, appeared just behind Celine's shoulder. His arrival was like a summer thunderstorm, bursting out of nowhere. Both Viola and Virginia mumbled apologies of different sorts as they faded away, seeming to agree between them without consulting Celine that this new situation took precedence over sharing information. Celine stood with her chin up, facing the direction of his voice. It was an effort to keep her tone light and careless. Why? What socially necessary reason has forced you to ask? When he was silent and stayed silent, Celine prompted him. Your Grace? Then his voice was closer, almost right at her ear. She could feel the slight tickle of his breath. She suppressed a shiver. He said, would you be willing to not dance with me? And do what? Instead of answering, he tucked her hand into his elbow in that way he had and started to lead her off the floor. You look warm, madam. Would you care to take a turn through the gardens with me? I am not that warm. The garden is for lovers who wish to be caught and for very long married couples to be nostalgic together under the moonlight. We have been married for nearly a week. I am ready to be nostalgic. That made Celine laugh a little. If you will tell me what wars we wish to end or not end, and also whether you intend to build manufactories. Now, where did you... Never mind. Why do you not swill punch and show off your jewels like all the other successfully married young ladies here? Is it only because you are blind, do you think? Yes, I wish to help Talbourn and Britain and you solely because I am blind. All the blind people are very much for you, Your Grace. Don't you know what it would do to my reputation to actually laugh at one of these affairs? When Celine felt her skirts brush something, she put out a hand. It was a curtain. Surely this is not the way to the garden? This is an alcove on the way to the garden. Far more shocking. The drapery swished close around them. Less nostalgic, Celine agreed. More apt to cause talk. Your Grace, are you quite well? I am no longer sure, but... Celine felt the gentle pattering of something small and soft falling on her hair, her cheeks, her hands. And Nicholas's lips nearly brushed her cheek as he said very softly, you are dripping with jewels and flowers, and I know you want to dance, but I... She was startled to feel him move closer and take her hand from where it rested on his arm, perhaps to lead her somewhere else. Instead, he turned her hand over in his and pressed it to his cheek. It was so oddly vulnerable and open. And when he spoke, it was with his hoarse, raw voice. Is it Britain or Talbourn or me? Before she could answer, before she really understood the question, he turned his face ever so slightly and kissed the palm of her hand. Something had changed. Something was different. Nicholas could touch her and still feel as though he were 100 miles away. This was different. This was like that hug, like their wedding dance. At this moment, he was here, putting not just a kiss into her hand, but all of himself. And the raw honesty of his kiss, just the brush of his lips against the tender swell of her palm, crystallized something in her. So she gave him honesty back. It is you.
Very good. Awesome. Yes.
I'm going to relax now.
You did good. That was awesome.
Work. Thank you,
Better
lady.
than me.
I was feeling for you with like, do I have naivete in this excerpt? Because it could happen.
I was trying to say it just a few minutes ago.
But you got it. You got innocence. I was like, perfect.
I was like,
no, you both did amazing.
Yes, both of you did very well. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. We do have questions, so I'm going to go ahead and see how many we can get to. Linda would like to know how many bookshelves are in your home, and I'm guessing she's asking that because we can see behind you, Judith. You're beautiful.
I was thinking she was talking about mine. There's 6.5 of these. So I have a PhD in world literature and English and a master's degree in linguistics. I have a lot of books, but all my fun books are on Kindle because I can't. Like I lived for a long time with books just stacked everywhere. And I was like, I can't live this way. So my fun books are all ebooks and these are all the academic books.
Oh. That's all academic?
This is all academic. This is the medieval shelf. I've got an Arthurian literature shelf right here that I was thinking of, Shannon, while you were reading.
Wow. That you do your research. Holy cannoli.
I used to be a college professor.
We get a lot of shelf envy on our show.
Yeah.
So
we do.
Yeah, these shelves, they used to make it Ames, and they were the most brilliant shelves that in the history of the United States. I love them so madly, and then they stopped like selling them. I love them because they stack. It's two things that fold and they stack.
Nice. Oh. Do you have major bookshelves as well, Shannon?
I have 7 bookshelves, but all of mine are all signed. So I don't touch those. They're all signed. And the books that I read, I always buy try to get a signed paperback from as many people as I can, get. Then I'll buy it on ebook. And then sometimes I'll buy just the paperback just to read the paperback. So I'll usually have like 2 paperbacks and the Kindle, all of the same book. And my husband's like, you're crazy.
When you love it, you've got to have it.
Yeah. And see, me, I have a master's in clinical psychology, and I got rid of all my academic books because I ended up after I went to school, I ended up going back into the Army because I had originally done the Army when I was youngin', and so I had about a 10-year break, and then I went back in and did 13 more years. But all those books, because I couldn't keep carrying them to each, Dawn knows, to each place, you go, just keep, throwing stuff away after each move, and more stuff gets thrown away, and then you accumulate more, and then you throw stuff away.
Yeah.
All mine are all signed and everything, so they don't get touched. They get put on the shelf, and I have I get 4 signed books through Romance Reveal book box.
Oh.
I'm doing a plug. She doesn't know I'm doing a plug, but yeah, I'm one of the featured authors on with Romance Reveal book box too. So
great.
Things coming. So yeah.
Let's see. We had Carrie wants to know, how long do you all spend researching compared to writing into editing?
Lots and lots and lots of research. And it's not just usually for me, it's not usually at the beginning. I do a lot of research before, but a lot of during, because as you're writing and then you're like, you put something in, you're like, I need to check this and make sure I'm doing this and this is correct. A horse, something about a horse or, whatever, and you just want it to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, I was looking at that question. I would say it's like 10. If I had to think about it, it would probably be about 10%. Really, it's not as much as we think, but it's just so time consuming, and you want to get it right. And the resources are amazing. So I have a subscription to the British Library. The newspapers from 1813 are online. The minutes of Parliament are online. The court cases that were prosecuted are online. The Old Bailey has a database of crimes. So, you don't have to spend a lot of time looking for the thing that you want. It's just that like you pull on this one little thread and then like suddenly you're like reading all the other court cases and it gets bad.
But then unfortunately for you, you find about 3 or 4 more plots that you can use in different books. And so then you got to like write them down with where to find them again for your computer. And so Judith,
I was doing castle research. I was doing castle research, and it took me into another castle and into another castle. And these ghosts are said to be here, and these ghosts are said to be here. And it's like, okay, how do I want to incorporate that into the story that I'm working right now, which I am? Mm-hmm. So yeah, this one, book 4 is going to be a lot of fun because I've got, they're going to be surprised too. The readers are going to really be surprised when they read it. So
right, I'm excited. See, we've got one from Karen. What part of the book did you have the hardest time writing? And I think for purposes of this question, let's just use the book you read from tonight. If there was anything that was difficult in that particular book.
So I have a really weird writing process that I took over from what I used to write, which was science fiction and screenplays, which is that I start at the beginning and I read and I edit up till today, and then I add. And then next day I start at the beginning and I read and I add up till today. It takes a while, the longer the book gets, and then eventually you chop off the first 100 pages or something. But it keeps me sort of going, so I don't usually get stuck. I would say that damn carriage in the Countess invention got me stuck for like, my husband's in here. It was like 2 weeks I was bitching about that carriage and where to put the body. It was at least a week. But usually I have a good idea of sort of where the story is going to go and I don't get too stuck.
Yeah.
Mine was incorporating a lot of the Celtic legends and the King Arthur legends, and what can I expand on, because as you know, I read in this excerpt tonight, I have Morgana and Merlin married, and they've had twins. So the Maurice and Mordred are twins. And what Mordred wants to take from his sister is the magic that was taken from him in interuterine kind of thing. So
interesting.
Yeah. So it was, can I get away with this? You know, that kind of thing. So I did a lot of research. That was probably the most difficult for me anyway. So
time for just a couple more. Linda asked another question. What do you like to do when you are not writing? Which I know for a lot of us feels like we're never not writing or preparing to write or finishing writing or doing something with writing.
Yeah.
Plants.
I knit and crochet. I do photography. I do a lot of crafts. My husband says sometimes too much. I do a lot of design, book covers, photo manipulations kind of thing. I have a DeviantArt page and all that good stuff. And yeah, so I do that. I like to be creative.
I think
I learned how to knit right after, or right in the middle of, I can't remember. It was in the middle of, while I was writing this book, I learned how to knit. And now every one of my books has a knitting scene in it. It's so like, I got obsessive about it.
I think Dylan and I can agree that you can't ever have too much crafting. At least I agree. I don't know.
Yeah, Dawn is you're like a serious crafter.
I'm really not serious. I haven't done it in a while. I have like a t-shirt. Actually, my husband requested his and hers t-shirt. So I got to make us that. But I haven't crafted in a while.
When I get stuck someplace while I'm writing, if I get stuck, I walk away from it and I'll either get on the computer and design something, or I'll get on, pull out my yarn and start knitting something, because I'll hand knit and I also loom knit too.
Okay.
And I have the knitting machine sometimes if my hands are hurting, which of quite often they do from the military. You know, I have arthritis and such. So if I'm not able to hand knit, then I'll either use the loom or I'll use the machine. And the machine is just crank, 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 crank. Boy, that's nice. Let me tell you what. You want to knit up a really quick hat? Those doggone things are freaking amazing.
So I did want to interrupt real quick. I know you're going to do another question or two, but I totally forgot to say also happy birthday to you, Dylan. And I'm not sure exactly which day it is, but I know it's in May as well. Next week. Okay.
I know. We're both May. So it's like party month this month. So although I'm like decades older than Dawn, we're not going to talk about that as I squint to read the next question. All right, let's see. I'm going to do one more because we're already over time. I know it goes super fast. We've got one more from Carrie. Do you have other occupations besides being an author? If so, does that influence your writing? So I think both of you have talked about things you've done in the past. Are you currently working on something else besides your writing?
My career is in IT, which is totally different, and I like using a completely different part of my brain. But I have to tell, I think it's Karen who said, do you hide things in your book that only some people will find? Yes, and that's part of what I enjoy. Like, only if you've read another one of the books will this make sense to you. And I am so like self-amusing. I'm like a Muppet. I'm like, this is so fun.
It's funny.
Well, I'm retired military, so but I'm home all the time now, you know?
Yeah.
And my husband retired last year too, so I'm stuck with him all the time, and it's driving me up the wall. I love him, but I want to get rid of him for like a week because he's driving me crazy whenever I start writing. He's like, Tap, what you doing?
Yeah. See, mine's not even retired yet. He's got a couple months left, but I get up at 4:30 in the morning to write, and he'll be going back to work next week, but he's been waking up around the same time just to come have coffee with me, and I'm like, that's great, but that's not why I woke up right now. I love you. Go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not writing time.
That's
what
doing
like a split shift. My husband works during the day, and then like after he goes to bed, I've got another like 6 hours to go. You know, that's how I get most of my books written because I'm like working through the night.
Yeah. That's what I'm a late. I like to stay up late writing too, but since he's been home, he's like, "Well, are you gonna come to bed?"
Yeah.
I suppose.
No.
Well, Dylan, we have more questions, but I don't have time for them because we're already over an hour. So
yeah. So
ladies, happy hour extended.
Yeah, we always have an extended happy hour. I will say if you have time afterwards, you can go and answer some of the other questions in the comments if you're up for that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I put the link to the Traveler series in there. And if they want to look at some of my military books, they can, just click on my name and it'll take them to all my books. So
awesome.
All the rest are military. So
awesome. Thank you.
Well, and we've got our giveaway that we always leave open through Sunday night. So if you haven't entered the giveaway yet, hop over to, you're on our page watching. So just look for the giveaway post up top and we'll leave that open. I know you have Shannon, you've got a gift card and an ebook, and Judith, you've got either a collection in paperback. So
either a collection of paperbacks or one paperback, which I will sign and apparently send to Shannon because that's what needs to happen.
Yes, it does. Actually, yes. I want.
All right. We're going to say goodnight to our viewers here. And don't forget to join us next the second or fourth Thursday of this month for a little bit more romance happy hour. But thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. We had a blast tonight.
Oh, thank you. I had a great time. I always do with you guys, though.
Bye.